Hey everybody, John here. This is the Blue Water Outlook Weekly Weather Briefing. Up front, I've got a pretty bad cold. You'll probably hear it in my voice. I think I can make it through the briefing, but there is a lot to talk about, so let's get started right away. Okay, first off, I wanted to show the action spots. Oh, actually, before that, I want to show you the sign of spring, the leaf emergence, the initial leaf index anomaly, red being way ahead of normal, maybe up to 2 to 3 weeks ahead of normal. So unusually quick start to spring. If we look at how often does that occur, sort of puts it in perspective. And the medium to dark green is saying in the top maybe 10 years or so, and that very dark shade of green, that's saying a record early. So southern Iowa, northern Missouri, that's a record early green up when we start getting the first leaves emergence, sort of those buds on the lower understory type vegetation. You know, I want to go back to that. This is the other thing. Look at with all that rain or all the snow up here. We also have a very early in the Sierra region, also quite a bit earlier than normal. Okay, so the action spots over the last week. And you know, one of the signs of spring is a variety of winter-like and spring-like impacts. And the blue is snow. The orange triangles are high winds, green is heavy rain, and the pink and yellow and even the couple red triangles I saw there, those are tornado reports. That is severe weather. So a little bit of everything, and that's what we see in early spring. Now, last week, the southeast U.S. and the mid-Atlantic and the Northeast got slammed with heavy precipitation. The southeast U.S. has really been getting hit with rain due to this El Nino track, and you can see that we had 1 to 5 inches of rain over the southeast U.S. Also, Northern California, another atmospheric river in that area. So if we look at the last 60 days, you can really see the El Nino winter that we've had. Developed over eastern Texas, Louisiana, Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Georgia, and just in parts of Florida, and then even into the East Coast. I know the populated centers of Washington and New York City have been really getting a lot of heavy rain. So that's been very active. The West Coast also has been very active. And where has it not been active? Well, large part in between these has been very quiet. Okay, we take a look at, because of all that heavy rain, look at the flooding going on in the southeast U.S., minor to occasionally even some moderate being the red boxes there. And then if you weren't in this area where we're getting this flooding, and also parts of the northeast U.S., central part, low flows. But let's keep an eye on these areas here. This is where we do not want any more additional rain, because if we do, that action stage, which is yellow, could go up to orange, which is minor flooding, and minor flooding could go more into the red, which is moderate flooding. So we do not want any more heavy rain, at least for a week or so, in that area. So let's talk about that in a little bit. Any snow? Well, there was a little bit of snow over the north part of the U.S., and actually a pretty decent amount in a small area. Right in here, a little bit over the northeast U.S., and then the higher elevations of the west. Now, where's the snow right now? Well, here's what the snow is on the ground. Now, we've had both a meteorological pattern that melts the snow quickly, and we've also, from a climatological standpoint, snow that we get tends to melt this time of year, at least very soon as we get into late March. So we got a couple things working against snow staying on the ground. Temperatures were above normal over the central and eastern U.S., including very significantly above normal in those areas in red. That's 15 to 20 degrees above normal. We made it up into the 70s or higher in yellow, orange. This area down here in Texas, that made it up to 90. Missouri, that made it up into the 80s right through here, 75 to 80. So some mild days last week. Okay, so let's start digging into the forecast. And as far as the dew point goes, I'd like to start with that because it gives us a little bit of an idea of the starting point. And we're starting with a stable, dry, and cool air mass over the U.S. So right now it's pretty quiet. And what we're doing is we're transitioning from this mild pattern that we're in, and we're going to be in that for a little bit more, then we're going to go through a Greenland high, and we're going to end up with an Alaska ridge. And what does that mean? There's a ridge of high pressure over Alaska, and that results in a dip in the jet stream over the eastern U.S. And that's going to reverse the temperature pattern we've had. The western U.S., which has been cool, is going to be warmer. The eastern U.S., which has had some really mild weather, is going to go either normal or below normal. Okay, so let's take a look at what that means on the jet stream here. Current time, ridge of high pressure over the central U.S. That's the remnants of this last weather regime that we had, and that's going to bring some mild weather to start the week in some areas. Let's go back here. I wanted to show you here. This is the cooler area. But by the end of the week, big reversal here. Look at that. The jet stream bows up to the north. That's our Alaska ridge. And then we begin to dig out a trough over the central and eastern U.S., and that's going to result in that cool down. Okay, we can see it on temperatures here. Next 5 days, if you're in this area here, enjoy it. We're going to have some really mild weather. And then we gradually transition in the 5 to 10 day range. And by the time we get into the March 20th to 25th, there's that cool air. And areas that have been well above normal are back to normal or maybe below normal. So that's what's ahead as we go through pretty much the rest of March. Now let's talk about precipitation. And remember I said we don't want any more rain over the south central southeast? Well, Louisiana and Mississippi and Alabama, it looks like another several inches of rain, and that's going to aggravate the flood situation, especially on tributaries. So if you're in that area, be alert to that. The rain up through the middle part of the nation, the Midwest and the Ohio River valleys, generally a beneficial rain. It's been dry in those areas, and a little bit of rain and snow in the northeast U.S. and across the west coast. Now, as far as snow goes, nothing major this week, but keep an eye on the northeast U.S. and on the lee side of the Great Lakes here, some enhancement of snow. Now, I wanted to show you the extended outlook here because I think it shows it pretty clear that Alaska ridge. Remember, what we have here is we have the ridge building to the north, and that's warmer. The ridge digging to the south, and that's cooler. And you can see there that cooler weather over the central and eastern U.S. You know, it might end up just near normal. That's what we've seen in the past. It doesn't go a whole lot below normal. It's more like going from above normal to normal, but we'll see. It could be a little bit below normal as well. And overall pretty quiet as far as the weather goes in that period. Now, 6 to 10 day, look at this, still wet. I think the southeast U.S. is going to be the hot spot as far as precipitation as we go through March. Okay, to end today's briefing, let's talk about this past winter. If you didn't see this, this is the official statistics. That area in dark red, that was a record mild winter. And most of the nation, very mild winter. It's in red. And precipitation's down in this region here, sort of the Central Plains, a bit on the wet side. But I think the story for this winter is these darker shades of red, how unusually mild it was. That's this week's weather briefing. I will be talking with you again next weekend. Take care.